what an iconic sound that is. That intro from 24, a super successful TV show. But also, did you know that there was a trading card game based off 24? Probably not, and that really goes to tell how popular or not this game was. But I don't want to give away too much. Let's go right into it. 24, the trading card game, had many things that went for it. First and foremost, of course, the very strong IP. The game was released in 2007 at arguably one of the most successful times for the TV show. Season 6 had just been released, Season 7 in the works. A lot of people were watching it, the critics were praising the TV show. It had really established a fan base. Also, the game was developed by Press Pass Inc., a company with experience with trading cards mainly in the NASCAR area, and it also published a trading card game based off Full Metal Alchemist. That game had been received quite positively just 2 years earlier by the general public and critics. In addition, the team also was built around Jason Winter and Trevor McGregor, two experienced developers. Especially, I want to highlight here that Jason Winter had worked on Star Trek, the collectible card games, for a significant amount of time. So the experience, both of them having worked on Full Metal Alchemist and some other things, really set them up for success. So then why, after just one release, one set, was this game discontinued? There's probably a few reasons to it, but I don't want to spoil too much. Let's first look at the product itself, and then we can dive into that later on. In total, Press Pass Inc. released 3 products for 24, the trading card game. A beta set, which was a smaller box with less cards. Then they released a 2-player starting set called Training Day. And following that, they released a full first edition set. In total, over these 3 sets, and the promo cards that were released, a total of 415 cards were printed by Press Pass Inc. The boosters contained 24 packs each. While not unusual, 24 is a number you will hear a lot in this video, so strap yourself in, they really leaned into this. Inside the packs, there were 12 cards each. And the rarities of the cards in the packs were divided into common, uncommon, and rare. In addition to these, there were 2 special card types, Chase and Elite cards, which replaced one of the other cards in a pack. And these Chase and Elite cards had special foiling on them. The cards featured a variety of different types, but that's something I will get more into in the next segment of this video when we look at the gameplay. The art on the cards featured stills from the TV show. This is usual with many trading card games that tie into an existing TV or movie franchise such as Star Trek or Lord of the Rings. So now that we know a bit more about the product, what was released, and kind of the configuration of the set, let's have a look at the gameplay. Each player starts with a deck of 24 cards plus a directive card. The directive card gets put down first on the table and informs each opponent what the player will play. There are 2 factions, the Insurgents and the CTU, and the directive gives that information to the player's opponent. Through the game, the players attempt to complete missions, which gives them a number of points, and the first player to 24 points wins the game. I told you we'll hear 24 again, that's already twice. The decks were made up of character, equipment, agenda, and event cards. The different cards, plus the different keywords, skills, and abilities on them, introduced a good level of complexity for players to sink their teeth into. The game itself was divided into 4 phases: the start phase, the maneuver phase, the main, and finally the mission phase. with each phase giving the players something else that they could do. In the start phase, the players will clean up their board, get new resources, draw cards, and set all the cards that have been used before. In the maneuver phase, the players got to move their cards between the two game areas, the field and the briefing room. During the maneuver phase, the players could play additional cards, pay to heal characters, and some other things. And finally, in the mission phase, you probably guessed it, player which turn it was attempting a mission, while the opposing player having the possibility to try and block that mission. Once all of these phases were completed, the game moved on to the second player, who then played out all their phases in their turn. And once all players have done that, then it moves on to the next turn. The game's resource time would start with 2 on turn 1 and then increase by 1 for each player on the next turn. So on turn 2, each player would have 3. On turn 3, each player would have 4 time, and so on. However, unused time would not carry over to the next turn. So this is very similar to something like mana in Hearthstone. So this was only a brief overview of how the game worked. If you want to find out how to play the game in more detail, I have a video on how to play 24 the trading card game on my channel. So go have a look at that if you want to see how the game plays in more detail. Let's look at then why I believe it didn't have a good run. Why did Press Pass Inc. discontinue the game after only 3 sets and only 1 main set? Well, first and foremost, I don't think there's a big overlap between the fans of 24, the TV show, and the nerd culture that is around trading card games. So an action TV show, trading card games, I don't believe there's much of an overlap there. In my opinion, as a science fiction or a fantasy setting, a TV show or a universe like Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, Star Wars lend itself much more to a trading card game than 24. There might be overlap in some cases, but I think in most that really doesn't work out too well. I think the developers already knew some of that already. One of the proposals was to build the game around Heroes, a very popular TV show at the time, and I can see how that could have went better. The card quality is decent, but it's not fantastic. The cards feel a bit flimsy, they feel a bit thin. In general, there's not too much to complain about it, but it's not fantastic. It doesn't stand out. The art on the cards, it's not great, I'll be honest. The stills are blurry. There's no extra effort gone into it. It's just screenshots from the TV show. I think the game needed to do a bit more than just that. And especially the foiling, while it looks good on some cards like Directives, it can look a bit jarring on character cards, especially the eyes look pretty weird. Foiling is something that fans of trading card games like a lot. I like it a lot. I love it on some cards, but it's very hit and miss. And I think for 24, it was more miss than hit. The card game itself, the rules, the way it was built, there was a high level of complexity. A lot of different skills, abilities, different phases, different areas on the board, different card types. It's not easy to get into this game having played other trading card games. While I can see how that can attract a certain subtype of players, the main attraction here was 24, the TV show. So if you want to pull in somebody like that, somebody that probably doesn't have a lot of experience with trading cards itself, and introducing that level of complexity right off the start is probably not the best way of doing it. Some modern trading card games like Flesh and Blood, for instance, they started with a simple set, Welcome to Wraith, introduced the game to players, and then built complexity from set to set. And I think that is something that could have worked much better here. It's possible that the designers thought that the complexity was really needed to convey their vision of the game. But personally, I think it's too much, it's too fiddly, there's too much going on, and it doesn't have a satisfying flow. Counterintuitive to that is as well that games are quite short. So with all the different possibilities, with the different abilities, skills, card types, that would make you believe there's a lot of strategy. But I'm not sure with the short games that really came through. Also, only having 24 cards in your deck, that kind of restricts deck building, and deck building is a pretty big card game feature. 31 new trading card games released in 2005. In 2007 we still had 16, and the trading card game really needed to bring something special to the board to be attractive to players, to get players to abandon their games and to go play something else. And honestly, the package just wasn't strong enough. There wasn't enough there, either in quality of the cards and the IP or just how the game functioned, to bring people away from the games that they already knew and loved. Finally, and I think this is a big deciding factor, Jason Winter, one of the designers of the game, left Press Pass Inc. before the first edition set was released. Why did he leave? Because he wanted to do something else. He wanted to work on video games. He wanted to get out of trading card games. So there's a good possibility there that he wasn't in it fully, he wasn't fully committed. And I think further evidence to that is that Trevor McGregor was the designer who advocated for 24, while Jason was more hoping to build it around heroes. So I'm not saying that he torpedoed the game on purpose, but I think to create something truly special, you really have to be behind it with everything you have. And if you're thinking about leaving the game, leaving the company, doing something else, that might not be the best situation to be in to create something truly special that will stay for a long time. So that's the reasons why I think the game failed. I think there are some good indicators there. I don't think there's anything here that would be massively surprising. But if you have any thoughts on why the game failed, then leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate you giving me a part of your time. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. If you would like to see similar content, I have more of these things on my channel. If you want, subscribe so you can be notified when I release new videos. Also, just before I go, I think it's important to say that this game is still pretty easy to get, so if you like what you hear or see about the game, a booster box is really enough to give you quite a bit of flexibility and some fun at the kitchen table. It's fairly cheap, it's pretty easy to get on eBay. We had a good time playing it, so do pick it up. And I want to close by saying thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you again soon.